made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mickey.
Hey everyone, I'm Dave. And Mickey's muted.
And I'm Mickey, who was muted. Hey, hey, hey.
That's the truth right there. And this is Shiny Side Out, broadcasting from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. And that's the home of fresh ideas. Get yourself some merchandise or donate if you like anything we say. Help support the station. Join us in the chat room. Oh, that reminds me. I gotta get in the chat room. You need to do that too, so you can talk to us while we're on air. This, Mickey, is show number, drumroll, 707.
7 and 700.
I like 707s, Mickey. I started flying when the 707 was in service. So, what a that was a long time ago. But anyway, it was good fun. Tune into us online on your smart device directly via an app or listen at home on a Grace tabletop, a digital radio. I tried to put some more Australian into it, didn't turn out. If you miss Solaris' show, don't even fret. You can jump in the chat room. Sorry, jump into the archives. That's it. Still jump in the chat room. It's free to access the archives at the station's website, revolution.radio. And there, you don't have to be disappointed if you miss someone's show, like I did. Tonight, Solaris, great show. Though I missed it, it's always a great show. It's what's expected. She sets the baseline of great shows. Cyber Witch Cafe with Niche, and who was the co-host. Thank you very much, Fleddy, for giving us some intel on how good our audio is. Thank you very much. I actually think, Mickey, that my audio is good because I'm mistakenly using my headset mic and not my Yeti mic. So bear with me. Okay. Yeah, bear with me 1 second. Takes 1 second to change it. There we go. That's changed. Can you hear a difference?
Yeah, it sounds a bit more echoey.
Echoey. Yeah, it would do that
it.
because it now has a room to listen to me through. All right, next. I'm broadcasting. What? Hi, Narara. Hi, Mickey. I am Nor Fleddy. Hi, Amiga Legos. Now, Mickey, I'm broadcasting out of Dark Zone Country. Where are you?
I'm in the Rock Country, and thank you, Omega Logos, for checking our audio.
Yes. It's actually refreshing to hear that someone is listening live, because a lot of most of our audience is listening through now shorts, Mickey. Isn't that good news?
Well, look, it is. Our numbers are, as we speak, actually, our numbers are climbing.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last, for the last hour, we're about 2,200 views.
Yeah, that's pretty
shorts.
Good. I posted something. I troll on X, and I post a story relative to something that they're talking about, in the hope that it gets some views as well, and that's also been successful. But we can't in one place see all of our views. So if you're watching this on TikTok at some point in the future, or X, or Instagram, or even Spotify, there is a shameless plug for all of those platforms, then happy days, because you'll be able to. You can do it. It is what we do. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to extend out. Understand where we're at, what we do. Oh, Mackie, what's the top story in your mind right now? Because if you gave me the talking stick, I would talk. I'll give you some choices, right? Clearly, the mushroom lady story. There is Soros indicted. What else do we have? We have China flexes its new super weapon. polar bears squat in abandoned research station, which is interesting. Lavrov at the UN. They got NATO summit. Who's putting money towards Latvia? So I've got some people there.
None of those.
Yeah, none of those. We got
None of those.
Donald Trump's Israel ceasefire plan. No pace on that going on. Portland deploying troops internally. We've got
There you go. That's story number one I would go for. Go on, yeah.
Yeah, and we've got the White House releases photo of Donald Trump and Anthony Albanese, because we know there's obviously a story around there. But
So
you drive, man. Let's go.
Oh no! Look, there are a few things we need to acknowledge before we go any further. The very first thing I want to do is, if you look in the chat, I posted a video there. I don't know. Can you play window in window? Can you play that video so while I talk to it, or is that not possible?
Well, in fact, if you shared it in this chat right now, I can play it, and the audience can also hear it.
Let me see if I can share this. So it's actually right there now.
Yep.
I don't want to leave Discord. I want to share the video. Okay, let me just quickly talk to it, and then we're going to figure out how to share it best.
Is that the Kirk one?
Yeah. So this is the Charlie Kirk video that keeps disappearing off platforms, and I've had that experience myself. I bookmarked a few things and then I go.
And the Israeli hard right government has a mandate. I got to be careful the way I say this. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse
Charlie
Gaza.
Kirk talks about.
I mean that's and I don't use that
Israel,
term
in October, and how he believes
they're talking about basically
that
removing
best case
2.5
scenario
million
is
people.
that it was allowed to happen.
And honestly,
best
they have a
case
mandate
scenario.
to go seek justice and revenge.
I'm not sure how I would share it. So if I play it now, I can't play
I'm playing
it in Discord.
You can't hear it.
You're playing it?
Yeah.
Burned alive and dragged to the
Okay, I
streets.
won't talk then.
But
This is not very long.
there's some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right. So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress.
So he's at the point where he says, "I've been to Israel. The whole country's a fortress."
When I first heard this story, I still had the same
let him talk.
gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order?
Is there a stand down order?
Was there a stand down order? 6 hours?
All right, so I'm pausing it there. Done.
Okay. So there are two things Charlie Kirk did that you don't do if you're in league with Trump or Netanyahu, which is to criticize them or go against their narrative. Either is bad. Charlie Kirk criticized the Iran bombing attack, and he criticized the handling of the Epstein files. He changed his tune when he was called by the White House, and he said, "Oh, look, I trust my people. My friends in the White House, they handle it, etc., etc." But when he criticized it, it was enough to cause some rumples. We talked about this. And the second thing he did was he said what he just said on the video. He said that best case scenario, Israel let it happen, right? He found it inconceivable that such an attack could happen in the Israel that he knows. I feel the same way. I said it right from the start when it happened, Dave, you might recall, because it just didn't make any sense. Now, those are the two things that Charlie Kirk said that put him on the radar in a really bad way, right?
Uh-oh.
And this is what happened. So
I
we all
don't
know
want to be
the
on the radar,
outcome
Mickey.
of what happened. No, look, we're not big enough at this point to be on the radar, and nobody knows who I am anyway, because this is not my real face. This is AI modulated, in case you're wondering, right? In reality, I'm so handsome, I outshine the sun. True story. But, yeah, I know you're looking at this face thinking, but you're already so handsome, even with the AI image. How is it possible to be even more handsome? Well, trust me, it is. Anyway, point is, he because he's big, his following is enormous. I think we can safely say that he helped Donald Trump to get elected with the youth vote. And he has accomplished a lot in his young years. And I respect that. Don't really agree with many of the things he said, but I think toward his later time, like in the last few weeks and months, believe it or not, I listened to quite a few of his things. He became a bit more moderate in some of the things he asserted. He didn't really say that he had been wrong or anything like that, but his views became a little bit more moderated, I think, a little bit more maybe palatable for a larger audience. Who knows? Anyway, point is that his demise works well in Trump's favor. Galvanizing MAGA around someone is always a good thing. Look, I hate to draw the comparison. The Nazis did the same with Horst Wessel in Germany. Other martyrs as well. You'll find the Soviets did it. Franco, Mussolini. They all had martyrs around which they could rally and pursue the common cause. That's a thing, right? And so in my opinion, Charlie Kirk became the literal offering on the altar of martyrdom for the movement.
So, Becky, when you take out an image or a person of that stature, then all the followers become one of them. So,
correct.
I watched this turn 10 million people into being Charlie Kirk now.
Correct, and in fact, there's talk about what's his name? Don Jr. Not Don Jr. What? Mm-hmm. No. Donald Trump's son taking over the movement, and there's talk about that. But yeah, the holiday as well. But there's another thing that's really, really important. So we're seeing I hate to say this, I really do, but I have no other comparison, and it is the most apt comparison. But Donald Trump, or whoever is pulling his strings, is using the Nazi playbook. Now, what's the Nazi playbook? You've seen it unfold already. You've seen it unfold. The only thing that hasn't happened at this point, looking at the timeline, is the confiscation of weapons and stricter gun control. That's the one thing that hasn't happened. I am really worried about one thing. I don't know if you've got the story for that, Dave, but Hexet, the Minister of War, has called for a fairly significant conference to be held in Quantico starting on Tuesday, I believe. He's invited, I think, in the vicinity of 800 military leaders, generals, brigadier generals, like all of the top brass in the military in the US to come to Quantico for a meeting. All of them. And I've listened to a number of experts on this, including ex-Pentagon officials, ex-military officials, et cetera, and they all said the same thing. It is completely unprecedented. A meeting of this kind has never happened. The US has never brought together all of its military leaders from all over the world. The logistics to fly them in, have them stay somewhere, apparently it's not really all that equipped, the area, Quantico, to house that many people. So that's quite a logistical nightmare. Not to mention a fair disruption of normal operations. And we're talking about the top brass from all around the world, about 800 of them. Mm-hmm. Okay, coming to Quantico.
Of course, I have.
And they're downplaying it.
Story up.
Perfect. Now, JD Vance tried to downplay it and goes, "Oh, that's normal. Why do you make it such a big story?" I want to be very clear again. This is not normal, and it is a big story. Now, what it put me in mind of, and I'm not saying this is what it is, it put me in mind of the Night of the Long Knives. Now, Mackie, what is the Night of the Long Knives? Good
Tell us.
question. In the beginning of the Nazi movement, in the in the early stages, there were two organizations ostensibly responsible for the security as well as paramilitary arm of the party. One was the SS, which we all know, which means Schutzstaffel or security, or I guess Schutzstaffel means protective detail, really, if you want to call it that. We all know about the SS, and then was also called something the SA, which was the Sturmabteilung, which is the sort of the attack front, if you want to call it that, right?
And what's the Gestapo?
Now, the Gestapo is the Geheime Staatspolizei, which is more like
Their
I
own
guess
police.
the NSA. No, the NSA. Think of the KGB, NSA. That's Gestapo.
Ah, okay.
So they didn't exist at that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
No, what they had was the military intelligence that they had that. But anyway, okay. So what happened? So the SA was largely made up of veterans of World War I, people with military experience, right? And it was led by certain individuals. And in the Night of the Long Knives, the leadership of the SA was killed, right? Because some tensions had arisen, and I think Hitler was a little afraid that the SA might take over the party. So he made arrangements, and the SA leadership was killed, essentially, and the SA was amalgamated into the SS. So it just became part of the SS. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but if you invite all your top brass from all over the world to a meeting, right? Then the question becomes, why?
Mm-hmm.
So it is, and again, it is unusual. It is unprecedented, in fact, right? Because they're saying, oh, well, Hegseth should really meet all the top brass. Now, even if he's there for a month, he will never speak to 800 people. It's not going to happen, okay? So him meeting the troops, that's a complete nonsense. There's some kind of message that is going to be communicated. And in my opinion, this is where they're going to, separate the wheat from the chaff. I think what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to vet out, to find out who is a Trump supporter and who's not.
Who's the supporter?
follow-
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who will follow orders and who will not, etc., etc. And they will make the decisions. And I believe that following this meeting, there will be a significant purge of the top brass, a significant reduction of numbers of top military U.S. leadership. My opinion.
Do you remember that first culling when Trump first got into power?
Of course.
Same.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this was more targeted. This was targeted around. Interestingly enough, he got rid of all non-whites, which was interesting. But he also got rid of the military lawyers that would stand in his way, specifically in the way of illegal orders. So he got rid of the JAG leadership, right?
So
this was significant.
That just put the point on that. Anyone who helps you get into power is the first to go when you get into power. We've seen that time and time again.
That's Charlie Kirk. Yeah.
This does the same thing. This is the same, but in a military sense. And when they all have to get together, besides the filter that they're going to imply or impose on that group of people who are playing the game, who are going to be part of this, who are just going to agree to what this next order is going to be, then what would that order be?
That's a very good question. So we already know that the next city on Trump's list is Portland. So he wants to send, military into Portland. I suspect that he wants to extend his military reach into other cities. Okay. And he wants the military behind him. I think. Okay, this is going to sound a little crazy, but
the news story already says that Trump will send troops to war-ravaged Portland in latest deployment to U.S. cities.
Yeah. Now, this is crazy, right? Now, but bear with me for a second here. So he definitely wants to do that, right? And on top of that, if the midterms are being held, and if the midterms turn out very poorly for the Republicans, which I think they will if they're held in a normal fashion. He then has to look to other means to stay in power. This is really important to understand. Virtually all of the policies that Donald Trump has put into action via executive orders are long-term policies. Okay, so he has tried to influence the country on a long-term basis. You can't actually do that with executive orders. You need to go through Congress and have it ratified and turned into law, like his big, beautiful bill. Now, bear in mind, and this is interesting, everybody, his big, beautiful bill is the only thing that he has written into law since he came into power. The only thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the key thing in that big, beautiful bill was the tax cut for the super wealthy. So that's now in the law. That's written in stone. That's there. Unlike his executive orders, which can be overturned with auto pen by the next president if they so choose. Okay, this is important to understand. Donald Trump doesn't want his policies to be overturned. More importantly, the people that are puppeteering Donald Trump don't want those executive orders to be rescinded when the next president, whoever that might be, comes into power. So, you need to get the military on site if you plan a coup. No coup in the history of the world, and you can go back as far as you like. Go back to Julius Caesar. When he took Rome, he had his armies or his legions camped out on the fields of Mars, but then he brought them into Rome. Not a single coup in the world has ever succeeded without the help or, in fact, the instigation of the military.
By the military, that's right.
Yeah. Never. It never has happened. So if Trump doesn't have the military on his side, and if he does want to stage a coup in case the election doesn't go well, right, then he doesn't have a hope in hell. But if the military is on his side, that changes the equation significantly. And he has put his loyalists already into key positions. He already has done that. Chief of staff, etc., etc. He has gotten rid of the JAG leadership, which ostensibly could have stopped him from issuing illegal orders or stopped the troops following illegal orders. And a whole bunch of other things could have happened, but they're gone, right? So he has removed most of the oversight, not just in the military, but even in the civilian landscape. All the auditors and such, the inspectors general, etc. Most of them are gone, as we know. They all went with Doge. So is what we're seeing here the preparation to militarize the United States? Are we seeing the preparation for a true coup attempt, getting the military on side? Now, let's think about this for a second. Let's say you get these 800 military leaders into one place, you talk, and you might even be provocative, etc. And you'll see who's going to walk out or who doesn't walk out, right? And says, I can't do this under any circumstances. Those are the people that are gone first. The others that are still listening, you have a chance to convince. Also, once you've gotten rid of the ones that don't really want to go along with you, you put your own people in. Because if you promise people promotions, more money, more power, more prestige, they're more likely to come along with you. Right? And trust me, for every 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star general, there's someone waiting in the wings. And not just one, but probably 4 or 5 people wanting that job. Okay? It's just your task to find out which of these people are most useful to you. So that's why I think this is a really interesting and, in my opinion, even dangerous meeting that's going to happen. So I don't know, Dave. You saw this as well. What do you reckon is going to happen there?
I'm going to step back from what might happen. I think whenever the military people get together, it's usually so that they're not communicating over electronic means. It's like when world leaders just meet for no reason, apparently whatsoever, right before a conflict. We've seen this in every single one of those where they've become, like, world leaders will meet and then suddenly, something's happened in the world. to me, it's an obvious sign that something is going down. If they're not the world leaders, which they've just met, if this is the top brass, then I suppose it's either going to be an order or a question or a timeline they're given in order to enact something. That's what I'm thinking. Hegseth there, the Minister of War now, that fellow wants to address the people that are his direct reports. So he wants to put them into a position where they're now all aligned, and I agree with you. It's easy. We have people, Meki, in our border control that are body language experts that look for people who are a little edgy, and they push those people aside and check their bags and find drugs in them. That's what it is. I love the border shows. Or it's obvious to me who is going to be playing the game, who's not going to play the game. And if we had the same people with the same skill sets and intermingled in the crowd, you would easily find who was going to be on board and who wasn't. The last thing you want is an Anwar Sadat thing where your own people kill you. That's not what you want. So I think that this is very much that same thing. And doesn't it align? It aligns with someone who wants to do something. Putting US troops on American soil is... it has not been a thing. Was it... what's the thing? Comitatus?
Plus the Comitatus.
Yeah. So... You weren't allowed to do it. Now, I know they changed the rules to say that you could do it, but you couldn't do it for military purposes. You could use them for crowd control or whatever. But how far that thin line is and how easily crossed it is, that's whole nother thing. Are they coming after your weapons? Is this what could be coming about as part of it? I know I listened to a whole bunch of extremely... let's call it change-sensitive people in the world who are thinking that this is all part of that digital ID. Everyone's going to be doing this. Once they put military on the streets, we know it's in place. So are we getting to this point? I think for me, it's a little too early to call, but I'm very wary that there's something big coming if this is what's really going on. Because it could have been a Teams meeting, Meki, right? Or their own military version of Teams, right?
Yeah, and that's really the point. A lot of the commentators, and these are military people, said, look, we have hardened communications platforms.
That's right. Yes.
We have them in case of war, in case of whatever, but we have them, and they're completely uncrackable, etc., etc. So if it was just a general communication, let's use that. Because again, the logistics involved here, the inconvenience, the relative downtime for the command functions. I mean, think about this: all the top brass in active military functions, commanding, tens of thousands of troops all over the world,
taking them off the job. That's right.
You're taking them off the job, and then clearly someone else is stepping in. They have to delegate. I mean, that takes time and stuff, etc., etc. So now,
I've got a thought, Meki. Guess what?
And I think we have the same thought here. Let me see if that's the same thought.
All right,
tell me if it is. But let's say you take all these people off the job. Are you signaling that this is a good time to strike someone? Are you signaling that, hey, I'm in disarray? Like when, funnily enough, do you remember? What was it called? When the aliens attack Earth? Independence Day. That's
Independence Day. Yeah,
so
okay. Yeah.
So they attacked on Independence Day specifically because a large chunk of the military was away for the July 4th holiday. That's why they attacked on Independence Day in America, that is. And that was really only the military, I guess, the aliens are worried about at that point. But that's what they did. Is this something of that nature? Is this something where, okay, we've got our top brass in one location. Now, another thing is this. They're all in one location.
There you go. One nuke and whooshka. That's all gone.
The security risk of this is
you
through
wouldn't
the
allow
roof.
it you wouldn't allow it if it was a private business.
Like, let me explain this. just in context. So I'm part, or I used to be part of Bid Team. Now, what does a Bid Team do? We go out there and we bid for contracts, right, for companies, because we sell IT services. And these contracts can be in the vicinity from 10 million, 30 million. The biggest thing I ever worked on was $800 million. Okay? That was the biggest deal I ever led. But this is a lot of money. And these bid teams usually consist of between 15 and 20 people, depending on where you are on the cycle, right? We were not allowed to fly in the same plane.
That's right.
The bid teams had to be split up. Okay, if you're part of the bid team, then half the bid team or a third of the bid team, whatever it might have been, depending on the deal, has to fly on this plane, then the other part on this plane, and the other part on this plane. That was company policy to minimize risk. Because if you lose the whole bid team, right, it could be $50 million down the drain, $100 million down, because you could never get up to speed in time.
You couldn't
submit
do it to meet the deadline. That's right.
Now, and that's just in the corporate world, you know.
So that's the same problem that faced Freescale Technologies that was on the MH370. They flew their entire exec and CEO on the same aircraft. That should never have been a thing. But Mekhi, no, I'm going to say that I had a different thought entirely, and I'm going to share it on a screen. And this is it came to mind immediately when I picture Hegseth in with 800 of the top brass. Is the meeting like Xi Jinping has in that huge room where there's probably 2,000 people all wearing military uniforms and all talking their talk. And it was, well, why don't we have something? Could you imagine a conversation? I'm a bit of a comedian in my head, and I was thinking, why don't we have anything like that? You know, why don't we have military? This is Trump. Why don't we have military displays like they do in China and Russia? We need to have one of those. So he had one. You know, why don't we have these big military meetings with everyone in there at all the top brass? Let's have one. So is this kind of like the same? I don't know. Whatever the purpose of it is, it won't be immediately obvious to the people. I think it's going to come out later, and in hindsight we'll go, aha, yeah, either there's military on the streets in the US, or there's a war that's just about to commence, which we don't know about, because, you know, that happens. Or maybe this is, like you say, Mekhi, this is an anti-coup d'etat action, so that you get everyone on board, maybe surround yourself with the people who can protect you. I don't know. Geez, I wish I knew. Sometimes I really wish I was a fly on the wall.
I do too. And that's a really interesting thought you had there as well. Look, all I can say is this action is unprecedented, not my words. Mm-hmm. It actually has never happened before. It has never happened. Can you imagine? Like, this has never happened before.
Yeah, but I like the way you say unprecedented when there's a president involved. That's really funny.
I know, right? Nothing. I mean, this has never been done by anyone, really, right? And in fact, I would say that in the world, I don't think there would be terribly many military meetings of this nature in any nation, ever. In a similar way, you would really not have all of your heads of state and their relative seconds, big vice president or vice whatever, in the same place. You just wouldn't have that.
The risk is too high.
Right? It's too high. And in fact, the movies are exploiting that. You know, I think the movie is called London Has Fallen, where all the heads of state are gathered together, whatever, and then a terrorist attack is, sort of taking over London, etc., and whatever. The point is, from a pure risk perspective, right? And if you don't know about risk, that's okay. But risk is really important in many aspects of life. You just wouldn't do it. In fact, there's a TV show called Designated Survivor that was with Kiefer Sutherland, where one person of the government, as it were, depending what rank you are, but one person was always, or had to be always, where the rest of them were not, right? So in some kind of secure bunker. So that person would then become the head of government. Right? That's something that the US does, and quite a few other nations as well. We have a person that is part of the government, not always the same person, it's like rotating, is taken away from the rest, And if they all get killed, like happened in Designated Survivor, I think they blew up Congress or something in that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh yeah. And there was only Kiefer Sutherland. He was like, I think the secretary for economics, like a really lowly cabinet level post, right?
Oh no, like the tea lady, yeah.
Yeah, well, not
not so much, shaker, but still, right? Yeah.
but nonetheless, that's what they positioned. So the question then becomes, is are we looking at an event here where you could put all of these military leaders in harm's way? That would be a bad thing. I just want to make that very clear to everybody. This would be a very bad thing. It's not something you want, because the chaos that would ensue is almost unthinkable, right?
Oh, if there was the loss of all of those people. Meki, so I was just right. I'm looking at the chat room, and there's a whole bunch of good conversation going on there. If there was a geopolitical upheaval, if there was volcanism or geotectonic problem that came about, I know Campe Flegrei is ramping up to possibly take out, it's a supervolcano, to take out most of Italy. Yeah? So who knows? Who knows what, somebody might know. What about these 7 comets that are all coming in? The greatest amount of comets in Earth's recorded history are all coming in the same 2-month period, right? Never ever. It's never happened in the same year. Have we had this much entertainment,
correct.
Right? Are there aliens going to present themselves, right? Because, 2027 is a thing, apparently. And I keep saying this. In 2017, it was warned there was a decade before they arrived. If you're into those circles about UFOs and aliens and all of that stuff.
Right.
So
and,
is it possible that any of those things are going to happen? Is the Northern Hemisphere going to have a cataclysm, and then those generals are going to need to have special orders in order to keep control in their delegated areas? I don't know. But I don't think it's just a meet and greet. I don't think it's a hello.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. It's that would be if it were, Hexets should be fired immediately, right?
What a waste of money that would be.
Oh, and just the risk profile is horrendous. But they also say that 2027 is the year that China might invade Taiwan. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening in 27. But look, if it doesn't matter if it's happened 27 or not 27. I mean, there was meant to be this end of the world, September 25th, I think it was.
Yeah. I got another stamp on my end of the world.
Yeah. Me too. This was the end of the world, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. But see, this is the thing, right? But what we can say for certain, unless Hexet is more incompetent than even I thought, something is going on. Okay?
Oh, jeez.
And I think he's...
I'm leaning your direction. Something is going on.
Right? Yeah. I think that's fair to say. On top of that, you had Donald Trump speaking at the UN for over an hour.
That's right. Without auto cue.
Lambasting. Okay, fine. You want to go there? So apparently, not apparently, but his escalator stopped. He had to walk up. Turns out, it was probably his photographer that must have tripped over a cable. Because the timing was really odd, because it stopped as he stepped on it. Okay?
That's right.
Now, if I were him, I'd think, hey, someone did this to me, which is true. I would think the same thing. Right? So off they went. Now, it's not really, I mean, if I want to sabotage someone, I wouldn't just stop the escalator, but whatever. And then the teleprompter didn't work. Now it turns out that it is his people. So whoever speaks, their people run the teleprompter.
Exactly right.
So this was not the UN.
It's like, the PA, Mackie, the PA, the personal assistant to the person, that's up there talking, has the remote and is doing the clicking for them. Yes. Yeah, I know. I get it.
Exactly. So if there any sabotage, this is your own people, brother.
Job. Okay. That's right.
They're sabotaging. But he was lambasting Europe. He was saying their countries are going to hell. He said climate change is a hoax. He said green energy doesn't work.
Oh, it's gold.
A whole bunch of other stuff. Now I will agree. I will agree that green energy has a long way to go. And I will also agree that right now we don't make enough electricity for everything to be electric. Full stop. We just don't make enough electricity, okay? And I will also say that I believe that climate change is a real thing, and it's not new. It's been with the Earth, as far as we can tell from the beginning. There has been climate change. Climate changes all the time. It's changing now. You don't have to believe it. You just, you will see the results when the water is up to your neck. And climate change, or even global warming, does not mean that it will get warmer everywhere. Certain areas of the world, because of the way that weather patterns work, will actually get colder. Okay? There are the knock-on effects here as well. So climate change is the better word. Forget global warming, climate change is the better word. Whether or not human-induced climate changing is a thing, I'm not going to discuss. Not enough time for that anyway. But he was just going on about it, right? And people weren't very happy. The next day, Netanyahu was addressing the UN. And a huge number, and I mean huge, a huge number of delegates walked out on him. So he was addressing an almost empty UN, right?
That's right, just like when Albanese was addressing it. I saw the shot. There was like 15 people in the room.
I know, but it's Australia, right?
But when the camera's tight on them, it looks like it's super official. It's going to go, look, listen to him go. Yeah. What a momentous moment in Australian history. And then there's a long shot. There's almost no one there. What is it? Rehearsal? Yeah. So Mickey, on the climate change thing, there was a story that the ABC in Australia, Our News, put out, and it was. And this is China's soft 2035 climate target frustrates experts amid rapid renewable growth. And this was our own left-wing party here, Controlled News, and they were saying, well, they're kind of upset that China isn't trying harder, but we're buying all the stuff from them to fix our climate, and that seems to be fine with everybody. I'm not bagging anyone out here. Wow, you can't have everyone on board. Maybe, Mackie, and there's a conspiracy about this, believe it or not. There's a conspiracy that the rest of the world is being destroyed by renewables to weaken them. And I think that's golden. And that's, if that, look, I'm not saying if it's true or not, that could be the line that Donald Trump is fighting against. So how when he was first running and QAnon were holding up placards just with the letter Q in the audience, and then at that same time our government, our right-wing government, banned access to QAnon's websites from Australia. Though you could change your DNS and get to it anyway, doesn't matter. Irrelevant. So at the same time as that was going on, and we've been chasing a renewable future for ourselves, despite us not making a net add to carbon. We're a carbon sink, where when you include everything we have, we're not producing more carbon than our own environment in Australia is consuming from us. So this whole thing seems to be nonsense. I'm not saying that climate change is not real. I'm saying that according to the conspiracy that the whole world is devolving itself and not become power players, mind the pun, because of climate power production or the energy or the kilojoules we need to run our societies. That by limiting what that is, that can hold us back, and it's like putting really heavy boots on a sprinter. They're not going to run very fast. So if you look at the competitive nature of our global geopolitical arena right now, is that what's really happening? Is a good question. I don't know. I want people to comment below. Hate me, like me, I don't care. Agree, disagree. That's up to you. I don't really care. But my point is, have we been fleeced so much that we've drunk all the Kool-Aid? Like if you go to Cisco Live and all you want to do is install Cisco everywhere, right? If it's like going to a tech conference, have we gone hook, line, sinker, and copy of Angling Times on this climate thing? Is it really something we have to fix?
I think we have, and I think, okay, so I think we have to move away from carbon trading. I think we have to move away from these carbon reduction policies, because all our energy is going into that, right? Because there's some people that believe now that it isn't caused by men or humans, caused by whatever, fine, or it's not real, whatever. What I suggest is we focus on living with it. We focus on how to live with whatever changes are coming. It's completely irrelevant who's responsible at this point. Okay, changes are coming, and I'm traveling around the world. Have traveled around the world now for 20 years. Talked to a whole bunch of different people, but I also see what's happening in my lifetime to the weather, especially in Europe. Right, but I lived in Europe for 20 years. My first 20 years, I lived in Europe. Right, 1969 to 1989. My first 20 years, then I moved to Australia. And what's happening in Europe now, especially in the summer, is completely unprecedented in my lifetime when I was there. I never saw it. I know I use the word a lot, but it's true. And I guess we're living in the age of unprecedented, right? And the heat, the storms, the unpreparedness, the floods, the glacier melts, the rocks crumbling because the permafrost is no longer there. All of that didn't happen before. It's happening now, though, right? So forget carbon trading, which is a big con anyway. It's a huge con, right? If you think about it. I mean, we are paying countries because they're not polluting enough. Here's some money. I'll buy your pollutioning potential, right? And until you pollute, when you pollute enough, then fair enough, then I won't pay you. But right now, I want to, rather than saying, let's all be like Cameroon. Cameroon is not polluting enough. Let's all be like Cameroon. Yeah? No, we don't do that. Okay, right, I get it. We don't want to do that. But we should. And very few countries, there are some countries in the world, Dave, though, that are preparing for what's to come. There are. Not very many, though. And one of the countries that is preparing is Singapore. Another one is the Netherlands. And the reason they are preparing is because Singapore is these days like 50% reclaimed land, and the Netherlands are 100% reclaimed land, and 100% of the Netherlands is below sea level. Like the entire country, Netherlands means lower lands, literally translated. The lower lands. Yes, they are. Watch out for those dikes. So those people have a vested interest in making sure that if there's a sea level rise or a swell rise or more storms and water coming down, whatever it might be, I don't want to lose all of my land.
That's right.
Very much. So that's the issue, Dave. And I think you're right. We have drunk the Kool-Aid, and we have become too convinced of our own arguments.
That's absolutely true. So on screen, I've got the actual data from Sydney's tidal heights going back from 1914 all the way to 2025. And what surprised me most wasn't the high tide level. It was the low tide level that keeps rising up. So the amount that the water recedes in low tide is the greatest change over that 100 years. And when I compress this graph to better than this graph widthways, if I narrow it down, the change is more significant. But knowing that the Younger Dryas ended with a tremendous increase of nearly 30 meters or thereabouts in sea level rise, we are going back to a point where there's no land ice in our current warming from the last ice age. And it's evident when you look around to what things are around about 2 to 4 meters above sea level. Right now, these vast flat areas of land which will be underwater and will be a small either inland sea or coastal tidal areas. And it's evident. And there's evidence there. Like when you have a look at Texas, you can see seashells up in the middle of Texas.
100%. Yes. Yes.
And-
Look, we know that has happened in the past. Sorry, go on.
It's been there before. No, it's been there and it's going back.
Do you know, Dave? What's interesting is this. Do you know what I think the first industry that's going to go bankrupt is going to be? The first industry that's going to be affected out of this the most, in my opinion, is the insurance industry. I think the insurance industry will no longer be able to meaningfully insure.
That's
certain
happening
things. And I
right
think-
now due to storms.
Exactly. Now imagine it gets worse. Imagine, and the thing is this. I actually used to work for an insurance company, and the first rule we had, and I worked in the letters department, which means we are corresponding with the clients that ask for things. Our first rule was deny.
That's
every
right.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. Then it might come back, and I had to go search the archives, whatever. The point is this. It'll come to a point where, number one, people won't be able to afford to buy the insurance.
That's right.
But even if they were, let's say, I don't think the insurance companies would be in a position
To
to
pay it.
insure.
That's right.
Yeah, to pay it. In fact, in Australia,
the
the
underwriter.
underwriter. In Brisbane, there's something called a floodplain. Now, a floodplain is exactly what it sounds like. It's a place that can get flooded easily. Now, it hasn't happened in a long time, but then it did happen, and literally, many houses were flooded, destroyed, etc. You can no longer insure a house on the floodplain.
What
No
about the
insurance
people
company
who
will-
had insurance and the company, knowing the season is coming up, cancelled that proponent of their insurance? They said, "Oh, we can't insure you anymore for flood insurance, so we just took it off." You've got theft and fire, but no flood damage. But I didn't.
Think
The
about that for a
person
second,
goes,
right?
I didn't change the agreement. You changed it on me. I never signed anything.
But that's the thing. The fine print says that they can. That's
Totally.
See, this is
the same
corruption.
thing in LA and in Hawaii. They were deleted.
Yes.
The renewal failed. They just said, "Oh, no one can do it. The fire season's coming, so let's just turn off fire." It's got to be.
Yes.
It has to be organized, and I'm in
Yes,
the
100%.
way of thinking that whole thing was just to be able to sell the land to someone else.
This is the thing, right? You have to understand that all of these companies are owned by the same corporations at the end. If you analyze, someone did this actually. Someone analyzed who owns what in the world.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I'm afraid
getting the number wrong, but yeah, I know, right? I'm getting the number wrong, but the ratio is right. All of the companies, like thousands of companies in the world, they are owned by like 10 mega corporations at the most, right? And the funny thing is even these mega corporations sit on each other's boards.
That's right.
So there is no real competition. All of these
And they own
parasites
each other.
at the top.
They actually
They own each other,
Yeah,
and-
that's right.
And is there collusion? Of course there's collusion. But the thing is this. I'm sitting everywhere, so I'm colluding with myself.
Can't
Yeah,
hear
no
you,
one
my
knows
kids.
where I live. It's all okay.
yeah. My kids are going to start my car in the morning. Guess what? We've come to the end of the first hour. Coming up after this hour, of the small break at the top, we're going to be talking about the hypothesis, part 8. And if you're not caught up, well, you don't have time before we start this one, but do catch up and try and get through the material. We have 99 pages to go through, and I think we're at page 13 or something. We're getting there. There's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of connections. So take the time to donate. We'll see you in a new stream for the next hour. And if you only watch our news, what do we ask people to do, Mackie?
Be safe.
Be safe. That's right. We'll see you shortly.